In an opera house in Budapest, assassin Joe pretends to be a regular audience member while keeping an eye on his target and the bodyguards protecting him. Once everyone is seated and the show begins, Joe walks up the stairs. A few minutes later, a bodyguard notices a shoe behind a curtain and checks it, but it is a trap set by Joe, who suddenly stabs him to death and hides his body behind the curtain. Joe moves down the hallway and shoots the remaining bodyguard before finding his target on the balcony. The man offers to pay triple his current amount, but Joe refuses and shoots him in the head. He told the date to be quiet and the woman ran away. He then looked up at the stage and for a second, his eyes met Mays, the star of the show. He decided to leave, but as he left, he started to have a headache and felt dizzy. Downstairs, another guard saw the woman run away and tried to contact her boss. When he got no answer, he rushed to investigate and found all the bodies. At this point, the security team saw that he had a gun and was about to arrest him. The bodyguard then opened fire. He only managed to kill one officer, while the other one hid to call for help. The bodyguard then hid on the balcony, and when the police chased after him, he was shot through the door. Suddenly, all the lights in the theater turned on and the bodyguard decided to jump from the balcony to the middle of the stage. The dancers and audience immediately panicked and started running away while another officer appeared on the balcony to shoot the bodyguard from a distance. Mays ran away with the others, but the panicked crowd accidentally pushed her to the ground, causing her to drop her phone and trample her limbs. Soon after, Joe saw her and picked her up with his phone to carry her out. As soon as he put it down, his headache started again, so he waited until Mays was distracted and disappeared. When Joe got home, he realized he still had Mays's phone. He took some pills and drank a lot of alcohol before going to bed. The next day, Joe went to see a doctor, who ran a series of tests and theorized that Joe might be suffering from the effects of a head injury he suffered years ago. The test results would come back later, but the doctor advised Joe to start thinking about finding a new job. Joe then visited his employer and close friend Zvi, who also suggested that Joe needed a vacation and to meet someone special. After much deliberation, Joe goes to the dance studio to return Mays's phone. She is grateful and gives him her number while flirting with him. On the way out, Joe throws the number in the trash, but quickly regrets it and takes it back. Later that night, he sends Mays a very awkward text and they agree to meet. They end up having dinner together and having a great time, although Joe never reveals what his real job is. Over the next few days, Joe splits his time between outings with Mays and other mercenary assignments in locations as varied as France, Romania, Austria, and Switzerland. His relationship with Mays becomes serious, and they begin spending the night together. Unfortunately, the headaches never stop, and the medication no longer works. When the test results finally come back, the doctor gives Joe the bad news. He has a degenerative brain disease. There is no cure, meaning Joe has only 3 months to live. Shocked, Joe refused the doctor's offer of palliative care and therapy. Instead, he returned home and began researching the disease online. There were many videos of people losing control of their limbs and information claiming there was no cure. Joe grabbed a gun and considered ending it, but he remembered thinking about Mays. He opened a secret underground safe and took out all the money, then took the guns and threw them into the river. The next day, Joe goes to Zvi and tells him that he wants $2 million for his own head. He would have killed himself, but life insurance wouldn't cover it and he wants Mays to get the insurance money. However, Zvi refuses to put a contract on his best friend's head, no matter how much he pays. Next, Joe goes to see Antoinette, who is also a former assassin and now works as a liaison officer. His bodyguard is Max, a killer known for his brutality. Antoinette has a personal grudge against Joe for killing her father even though he framed him, so she is happy to place a contract on his head. Since Joe still has some work to do, he asks him to activate the mission at midnight. After Joe leaves, Antoinette consults the assassin app to choose an assassin for this mission. She first contacts Lovedoll, who is in Switzerland, to complete another contract. Upon seeing S' message, he refuses the mission, saying that $2 million is not worth much. Then a message is sent to Goeng and his gang, who are at a karaoke bar in Prague. The gang has been hiding as workers for a long time, and now they come out to kill their targets in seconds through teamwork. Goeng happily accepts Joe's contract. Just in case, Antoniette also sends him to meet the Langos brothers, who kill a guy by tying him to their bike and simultaneously shooting him to split his body in half. That night, Joe meets Mays, unaware that Max is following them. Joe says goodbye to her and Mays kisses him one last time before leaving in tears. Joe then goes home and starts drinking while recording the whole truth for Mays. He wants it to arrive after he dies, but he presses the wrong button and sends it just before it finishes. As Mays listens to the message, Joe gets a call from the doctor, who gives him some important news. Joe's test results have been mixed up with another patient's test results. He won't die. In fact, he's perfectly healthy and could live a long time. It's only 5 minutes until midnight, so Joe prepares a trap. Just then Goeng and his group arrive and use cigarette smoke to reveal the laser sensor at the entrance. They easily dodge and go deeper inside while Joe speaks from his hiding place, saying that he's canceling the contract. However, Goeng insults him and reminds him that contracts must be honored. A gang member followed the voice into the bathroom where Joe was waiting to fight. The guy was very good at martial arts, but Joe easily overpowered him and threw him through the glass wall. Then a woman slashed her back with an axe, but Joe pushed her onto the broken glass and pulled her neck into the shards to kill her. The previous guy got angry and attacked again, but when he did a special kick, Joe broke his leg and was thrown through the wall. Then another gang member attacked Joe with a sword, causing another fight. After exchanging a few blows, Joe grabbed the man's arm to break it and disarm him. He then killed him by throwing him into a pillar. The last member of the gang chased Joe with 2 large blades, and after several missed shots, she managed to stab Joe in the shoulder. He was able to continue fighting like this and hit the woman so hard that she lost a bunch of teeth. The only one left was Goeng, who threw a knife at Joe's leg, but Joe killed him with the blade from his shoulder. After lighting a cigarette for Goeng as a farewell, Joe leaves the apartment and triggers a trap, blowing up his house and killing the toothless woman. His body is thrown out the window and lands on the gang's car, causing it to explode as well. On the street, Joe uses Goeng's phone to call Antoinette, telling her that he will cancel the contract, but she can keep the money. Antoinette becomes angry as she still wants revenge on her father and declares that she will double the reward. Hearing the sound of a motorcycle approaching, he enters an old building and is surrounded by the Langos brothers who ride around on their motorcycles to attack. Joe dodges some, but most of their attacks continue to knock him down. Luckily, he finds a water pipe nearby, and the next time one of the brothers chases, he uses it to hit him, knocking him off the motorcycle before stomping on S head to kill him. The other brother screams in anger and speeds away, but Joe kicks the front wheel of the bike and sends him flying. Joe can now steal the bike to escape. Meanwhile, Antoinette sends out the mission to Europe's best assassins. Lovedoll is still in Switzerland having fun with the women, but when he sees that the current reward is 4 million, he finally accepts. In Scotland, the Mackenzie brothers also accept the mission and celebrate by smashing beer bottles over each other's heads. In a dirty club in England, party girls pose as dancers to kill all the patrons with weapons cleverly hidden in their skimpy outfits. A customer tries to fight back, but the girls are good fighters and easily take him down. In Spain, a group of criminals are preparing of the joy powder for sale, but they are interrupted by Botus, who uses his dance moves and the knife in his boot to kill all the men in the room with impressive skill. Meanwhile, Joe goes to see Zvi, who uses glue to heal his wounds. Since Zvi is only a foreman and doesn't have a gun, he can only give Joe some explosives left over from another job. Zvi's wife also volunteers to help and gives Joe a thorough massage, including neck stretches. This immediately stopped Joe's headaches, dizziness, and double vision. Lovedoll soon arrived in Budapest by train, and Antoinette sent him all the information she had on Joe, including Maze's location. She also sends her cousin Money to find Lovedoll. Money is annoying and a bit stupid, but Antoinette promises her uncle that she will train him to be an assassin too. They go to Maze's mansion and surround him as he leaves. No immediately kicks Money down, so Lovedoll punches him to kidnap her. In the morning, Joe arrives at an old castle in the countryside and Max quickly learns of its existence. The information is sent to all the assassins, is rushing to the scene, but it is for a specific purpose. Zvi has leaked the information as part of his plan. At the castle, Joe is fully armed. The Mackenzie brothers are the first to arrive. They enter the castle and Joe throws grenades at them before going out to fight. At first, Joe does well against a single brother, but when the brothers join forces, they capture him and put him in a suit of armor. Joe takes the gauntlet off the armor and uses it to fight again, delivering more powerful blows thanks to the metal. However, their teamwork continues to frustrate Joe. Suddenly, the brothers start arguing stupidly and Joe takes this opportunity to trigger one of his traps. He pulls a cord to knock over a chandelier and traps one of the brothers, who is pushed towards a deer's head and is immediately impaled. Joe then took a piece of deer antler and fought the other brother again, exchanging a few blows before stabbing him to death. Soon the girls in the group came and opened fire, so Joe used the dead man's body as a shield to run into another room. The girls threw grenades, but Joe dodged them and used the brothers' guns to fight back. Soon another grenade came and wounded him before he could escape. The shooting continued and Joe ran out of ammo, so one of the girls tried to get to him. She accidentally stepped on a trap and the explosion caused her to fall. Joe immediately dragged her body into a corner and detonated his grenade before throwing her at the other woman, killing them both at the same time. Joe grabbed their guns before the explosion sent him flying through a door. Botus waited for him and quickly disarmed him before putting on his headphones to let the music guide his movements. A fist fight ensued and Botus Bodus was such a great fighter that he could easily keep up with Joe. They continued to charge across the room, and Bodus injured Joe with his boots, so Joe in return made him lose his headphones. Since punches were having no effect, they grabbed a pair of swords to continue the fight. After a few minutes, Joe disarmed Bodus, who found the weapon and opened fire. Joe hides behind a table and triggers another trap that detonates Bodus, leaving only his boots behind. Outside, Lovedall's group arrives, and he immediately suspects it is a trap because he sees all the assassins' cars at the entrance. Lovedall tells Money to watch Maze while he investigates. Once Lovedall is out of sight, Maze says she needs to stretch her legs and manipulates Money into leaving the car. She then fakes a fall and grabs a tree branch to knock Money out. Meanwhile, Lovedall calls Joe on Maze's phone and offers to release her if Joe surrenders. They are forced to hang up when Max arrives with a whole squad of armed men. They enter the castle and begin to look around while carefully avoiding traps. Joe hides in the shadows and sets off explosives that take out half of the squad. Joe then sneaks out, stabs a soldier, takes his gun, uses it to kill the others in the room, and escapes out the back door. Lovedall waits for him in the garden and makes him drop his gun. Before they can reach an agreement, Maze appears in Money's car and knocks Lovedall out before opening the door for Joe. The two escape together while the rest of Max's men try to open fire, but to no avail. On the way, Joe finally tells Maze the whole confusing story about his illness and his real job. He explains that he kills criminals, not civilians, and vows to retire. Noah's happy to hear this because she is pregnant. When they agree to work things out, Maze passes out and Joe discovers a gunshot wound to her neck. He decided to abandon the car and drove Maze to the nearest building, which happened to be a church. Luckily, the bullet only grazed Maze's body and she quickly woke up. Joe was so relieved that he proposed to her and she accepted. The local priest was skeptical because they had no marriage certificate, no witnesses, and neither of them were Catholic. He eventually agreed to do it if they confessed. The poor priest is horrified to hear about all of Joe's murders, but when Joe explains that he wants a second chance at fatherhood, the priest agrees to atone for his sins on the condition that he vows to retire. The humble ceremony begins and Joe uses a grenade as a ring. They are interrupted by Lovedall, who opens fire. Joe attacks Maze to save her and the priest is shot in his place. Suddenly, a grenade is thrown into the church and the explosion causes enough smoke for Joe, Maze, and the priest to escape. The explosives come from Max, who begins arguing with Lovedall over who owns the contract. While in the back room, the pair treat the priest's wounds. Lovedall opens fire, killing several of Max's men. Joe quickly returns and kills several soldiers. Grenades continue to fall and explode, starting a small fire. As Lovedall attempts to fight a soldier hand-to-hand, Max throws another explosive, collapsing the scaffolding and trapping Lovedall. Max then begins to ransack the church, killing his last man as he is wounded. Joe manages to surprise him from behind and they eventually come to a standoff, only for Joe to discover that he is out of bullets. Max smugly announces that he has won, but before he can fire, Maze shoots him point blank in the head. Meanwhile, Antoinette packs her bags to leave the country. Zvi appears to announce that she has broken the same rules as her father and shoots him in the head. Sometime later, Joe and Maze have a proper wedding with the now rehabilitated priest and all their friends. Joe is ready to start his retirement life, but Maze realizes that raising a child is expensive and tells her husband that maybe he can take on a few more odd jobs. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Leave a comment about your favorite movie and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.